Patriotism. There's a word thrown around a lot. It inspires passionate debate and is worn like a badge of honor, and with good reason. Picture the average Joe or Joan or Juan or Jean-Luc. The real people who make America, America. And this year, whenever you feel the urge to don those star-spangled shorts, set off fireworks the size of my biceps to show love for our country, remember that to love America is to love all Americans. Because love has no labels.
Let's move on to the next question. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jenny. I'm a sophomore, and this is for all three of you. Can you say in one sentence or less what... you know what I mean. Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
Diversity and opportunity.
Lewis?
Freedom and freedom. So let's keep it that way.
Will?
The New York Jets.
No, I'm going to hold you to an answer on that. What makes America the greatest country in the world?
Well, Lewis and Sharon said it. Diversity and opportunity and freedom and freedom.
I'm not letting you go back to the airport without answering the question.
Well, our Constitution is a masterpiece. James Madison was a genius. The Declaration of Independence is, for me, the single greatest piece of American writing. You don't look satisfied.
One's a set of laws and the other's a declaration of war. I want a human moment from you. What about the people? Why is America
Not the greatest country in the world, Professor. That's my answer.
You're saying...
Yes.
Let's talk about...
Fine. Sharon, the NEA is a loser. Yeah, it accounts for a penny out of our paycheck, but he gets to hit you with it anytime he wants. It doesn't cost money. It costs votes. It costs airtime and column inches. You know why people don't like liberals? Because they lose. If liberals are so fucking smart, how come they lose so goddamn always? Hey, and with a straight face, you're going to tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom? Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom.
All right.
And yeah, you, sorority girl, just in case you accidentally wander into a voting booth one day, there's some things you should know. And one of them is, there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. Now, none of this is the fault of a 20-year-old college student, but you nonetheless are, without a doubt, a member of the worst generation ever. So when you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yosemite? Sure used to be. We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars. acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easy. We were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed by great men, men who were revered. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one. America is not the greatest country in the world anymore.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to In Time. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter. Thank you so much for joining us. And with me today is Zandering, as usual. And we have a special guest, the Professor, Dr. Reverend Christopher Mowdy Jr., the Third Junior Esquire. With us today. Fitting all of that onto that one little label took some time, but it was well worth it. It was worth the effort. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty well. Somber Memorial Day to everybody.
Yes, sir.
For those that have relatives that were lost as soldiers, we honor them.
And yeah, if you want that John Cena clip, you hit me up on Discord. It should be on our Discord already, but I'm happy to pass that one out. That's a great clip.
As a reminder, how old is that?
I think that's about 4 or 5 years old. I'm not entirely sure. I do know every time we play that clip, and this is the irony, we get demonetized in one country, just one. We get a notification, we get demonetized in China. The reason we get demonetized in China is because that song comes from The Truman Show, which is about a guy who lives in a fake reality where everything is being monitored, and that movie is verboten in China. So even that music, if you play that music, boom, gone in China. It's not even demonetized. You're blocked in China. And you just get a notice, the video has been blocked in China. Yeah, it's always a little weird to just see that. It's not even, it's blocked. So the censors are working overtime, which is, I think, sort of in part what we wanted to talk about. You had reached out to me and suggested that we do this show and try to figure out, because I think there is definitely, there's been a growing dissatisfaction in this country for some time. We've been getting more and more polarized. That's very good for the political parties who want to try to get out the vote to get people angry, but it makes it very difficult to do the actual business of governing. And it's reached the point now where we have a president who, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, there was an attempt on his life. There was another attempt on his life 2 days ago. And I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, I mean, the guy was crazy. But I mean, this is, we're still on his first term, and then he got hit on the ear and so it's a good question. Pete Hegseth, as the Secretary of Defense, who, aside from his Fox News qualifications, which are obviously, I'm sure, impeccable, he's a Christian nationalist. And when we look at how many sacrifices were made in the cause of this country. The country is so broad. In the John Cena video, what I like about it is we have to allow for Christian nationalists, and we have to allow for views that we disagree with. But this whole country has been turning sharply in this Christian nationalist direction that I find terrifying. And so the question becomes, what was all the sacrifice and work for? At least that was how I took what you were talking about. So I don't. Here we are.
Exactly. So that was a nice summary of my thoughts. Yeah, like people have died for this country, and this country has evolved. So like the country that was fought for in World War I is a little different than the country that was fought for in World War II, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, the Iraq War. And now it is my opinion that we have deviated so far from the country that was fought for in a way that we honor the soldiers that died, that what are current soldiers fighting for? What version of America are our current soldiers fighting for? To your point, we have Hegseth as not the Department of Defense, the Department of War.
Yeah.
Right? So we have Stephen Miller, a rabid anti-Semite bigot, right? Because even when he was in high school, he was connected to the American Renaissance run by Jared Taylor, which is a white nationalist, white separatist movement. That's Stephen Miller, who is the Cheney of this administration, so to speak. He's the Darth Vader kind of running things. His wife has a podcast that's getting bought out for millions of dollars. I mean, this administration is such a cash grab.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It makes you wonder what's being fought for to maintain the current structure, which is just carving out the middle class, idolizing cash grabs, giving voices to groypers and Christian nationalists. I mean, the bravado with which some of these people talk about America and how it should be segregated and how racism isn't racism, it's just pattern recognition. Well, you know what else is pattern recognition? Bigotry. Like, there's only so many times you can say that immigrants are low IQ and bringing bad culture into America, that it's going to dilute the purity of whatever the fuck version of purity you're talking about.
Speaking of pattern recognition, I've heard that pattern before, by the way.
This pattern rhymes with other patterns in history, doesn't
it? Well, I want to get Andrew's take on it, but before that, I want to quickly say the other biggie is bribery has become, with this $1.8 billion slush fund, which they have now made it so that congressmen can, and there were some congressmen who complained that their phones had been tapped during the investigation into Trump. Well, the reason their phones had been tapped was because they were talking to a target of an investigation. Nothing sinister happened with those taps. And it wasn't even the contents of the call. It was just who they called and how long they spoke with them. That's all the information they got. But they're now eligible for this money. And Trump is going to determine who gets how much. So the senators and congressmen who aren't getting Trump what he wants, like, well, would you like $1 million? That's not much out of a $1.8 billion fund, and he can just hand that off to a senator. And I'm not sure that that's what the military had in mind when they were defending this country. Andrew, your thoughts?
Oh, now he's silent. Everything to say backstage, and then
I know. Oh, he was talking smack. You should have heard what he was saying. Oh,
America's so star-spangled awesome that I'm driving through 2 mountain passes in the Rocky Mountains, and so hopefully you'll be able to hear me. And of course, I'm going to be doing this for the next 120 miles, so the entirety of the show.
Okay.
But it's
well,
gorgeous.
We can hear you now.
Wish you could see it.
Yeah. Wish we could see it. Prefer to hear you.
fine.
Have you heard what we were saying, and what are your thoughts?
Most of it, and I don't think it should, hopefully at this point, surprise anyone that I agree with you. It's like one of the reasons that I'm so against federal power is the very corruption that we're witnessing. It's like they shouldn't have the power to do this, and it pisses me off that they're doing it.
Well, and you've pointed out on more than one occasion that with a senator, for example, it's very hard to get to see your senator. Each state has only 2 senators. If you're part of a big state, you're not going to get to really see your senator. But your local state senators live with, and by the way, your senator is going to be living in half the time in Washington, D.C., so you can't go, if you want to see your president, how far are you going to have to travel to go see your president? And you're not going to be able to get an appointment. You might get a tour of the White House, but that's it. But your governor is different. Your governor lives in your state. Your governor suffers many of the consequences of the actions, both because they have to, if they close down all the streets, if they steal the entire budget, their car doesn't get plowed out either. But they also have to see their constituents every day. They can't avoid that. Most congressmen, for the U.S. congressmen, don't see any constituents on the average day. So it's probably a lot easier for them to suffer the influence of other constituents of the corruption that's going through Washington, and to not think about the effects that this is having back at home. So that was an argument you had made that I've obviously glommed onto, and makes a lot of sense to me. So I think there's a real problem when I'm sitting here arguing on a Xandering side. Where's my Bible? Yeah.
I don't know if you're necessarily arguing on my side, because I'm sure there's plenty of things that would, that you're like, well, wait a minute, the federal government does a lot of things, and under your view, a lot of good things. And under your view, they wouldn't be allowed to do any of those things, and they wouldn't have the power to do it. They wouldn't be able to extract the money in order to be able to do it, and they sure as hell couldn't borrow the money to do it. So, there's plenty of good things that I'm sure that you think government should be doing. So you're more explaining my position, I think, rather than trying to argue on behalf of it. But that is generally my position: is you should keep government as local as possible.
Yeah. And
the farther away from the people you get, the less power said government should have. And there's absolutely things. It's like I don't think that we should abolish the federal government. I'm not necessarily a minarchist. I mean, I have a very easy test for whether it's something the federal government should be doing, and that's if either a single state either cannot do it by itself, or we should not allow them to do it by themselves. There are enumerated powers that the government has, and they have those powers for good reason. The ability to forge treaties, the ability to raise an army in defense of the country or allies. There's a lot of good things. Establishing immigration laws and naturalization laws, very good thing. So they're uniform throughout the entire country. There's other ones that some people, especially more conservative people, get mad at me about, because I'm like, well, the pandemic response ought to be the purview of the federal government, because you don't want each of the states doing their own pandemic response, and you have a patchwork that just doesn't hold up. So, that ought to be a power of the federal government. So, I do believe that there's a role for the federal government, and I think that they have wildly overreached and are essentially selling most Americans down the river in enrichment of themselves, both monetarily and in their own little fiefdoms of power. And that none of it is sustainable, and it's going to come crashing down, and it's going to hurt most Americans badly.
Mm-hmm. They're gutting the very systems that help the middle class families and veterans that are fighting to maintain this structure. And I'm an institutionalist, so to speak. Like, I will argue for there being institutions. I think that institutions are important for our society, for the guardrails, and I'm an incrementalist instead of an accelerationist. So that, that's where my frame of mind is. And it seems like the acceleration anti-establishment movement has just been Trump's first term was a stress test. It's not a stress test anymore. He's just bulldozing America like he does the White House. You know what I mean? It's almost like he's trying to recreate America as the ballroom he wants added to the White House. He wants America to be Trumplandia. He wants it to be gold patinaed. And those moves are making America worse. I mean, let's not forget that there are times when he has wanted the military to handle civil problems.
Yes.
So if you're in the military, you know, are you not asking yourself, like, what am I fighting for? What am I doing? I mean, my favorite moment was when he demanded the Army March in Washington. I think it was for his birthday or something. And nobody walked in formation. It was just a bunch of soldiers casually walking down the road, and it chapped his ass because it didn't look like the theatrical Chinese government version of military power showcase. Yep. So, I mean, that gives me the sign that there are people in the military that don't agree with Trump, but what does that mean now? Now that he's had time to show us his cards. Right? He doesn't keep his cards so close to his vest anymore. Anytime he says something as a joke, it becomes a serious matter within weeks, right? Like, oh, maybe I'll take over Greenland. Now Greenland.
Yeah, it's like we start prepping the shows. That the second he says it, we're prepping.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are my concerns. And of course, my channel, Otherhood, the Otherhood on YouTube, I mostly deal with scientific racism, and you know, you would think that I'm merely doing a historical deep dive. Nah, man. Everything that I look up, everything old is new again. Absolutely relates to today, right? Like I look into the Pioneer Fund. Well, the Pioneer Fund started American Renaissance. American Renaissance is what Stephen Miller adheres to. So, like, it all comes back to the same players. The racist arguments that exist now, they're academic versions of race science that are post the bell curve. Pre the bell curve, it was just straight up racism. I don't like them. Now it's like, well, they have lower IQ and are bringing a culture that is destructive to America, and, you know, anyway, you know, the IQ of China or the IQ of Japan is higher than, you know, Western societies, and Africa's even lower. So why would we want these low IQ people? These are the same goddamn arguments from the 1910s. So, like, it feels like we're going backwards. It feels like America's getting shellacked with just the gaudiest version of the cringiest America.
For me, that's a huge part of it. The two biggies that I have is, one, the amount of spending. He said we're going to cut the spending, and he's right. We have to do something about this country's finances. We are reaching a sovereign debt crisis that is hitherto unseen in human history. We're going to have to be bailed out by the rest of the world because they can't afford to let us crash, and that's what I don't know, but it's something very bad is going to happen. That notwithstanding, the other one is, for me, most showcased by the boat strikes in Venezuela. Those were civilian boats. We were killing civilians. If you talk to
Megyn Kelly, she wanted to see them suffer.
Oh, Jesus.
If you haven't seen that clip.
I have not, no. And then the double tap strike, which is a clear violation. So, I mean, we are ordering and executing, without even thinking about it, war crimes. And we have the attitude of, well, if we do it, it's not a crime. And that's Trump's attitude. And that was Nixon's attitude, by the way. That was literally what Nixon said in the Frost interview.
That was a lot of people's attitude. I mean, we can't paint Republicans with that brush. I mean, we got some Democrats that kind of made some moves. Obama, drones, you know, wiping his hands of boots on the ground. Still, we did it. It's okay. So, I mean, let's paint power as power, regardless of political group. But it's egregious, to your point.
I think this... I think Obama struggled with it, and he talked to lawyers and got honest opinions about it. He also he ended up using the White House counsel opinion, which is not an honest opinion. It's the opinion you go to when you want to do something that's probably illegal, but you want cover for it. But Trump doesn't even bother with that. It's just like we're just gonna start blowing up boats that may have criminals and may not. And the drone strikes that Obama was doing was at least on actual terrorists, enemy combatants, whether they were on the field or not at the time, which is what would constitute the war crime in that particular issue. Here, these guys are civilians in boats.
We kidnapped the president of Venezuela, didn't we?
Yeah. We kidnapped the president of Venezuela. We threatened multiple war crimes on Iran, and just saying, okay, we're going to level your civilization and end it. Just the threat is a war crime. You're not allowed to threaten that. So,
well, hold on. I see Daedalus is in the side chat, and he corrected me. So to read his quote, a good friend of his was one of the officers responsible for organizing the military parade, to get back to the military parade comment, and he asked if the marching was deliberate, and it was simply a lack of practice. Okay. I stand corrected on that point, that I implied or gave the inference that it was done on purpose, and apparently it wasn't.
But a number of generals have bailed. Yes.
Yeah, I will point out that while you're in like boot camp, they'll use that to like marching in order and formation and doing all the cool moves and all the things you would expect to see in some sort of public display. That's done in like boot camp. Like I did the twirling guns, and but that's the only place it's done. Once you get out into the actual fleet, you've got a job to do. You don't waste time marching around practicing any of that kind of stuff. That's not what you do. There are a few ceremonial positions, such as the USS Constitution, where it's all based on ceremony. The Tomb of the Unknown. So that's all ceremony, and that is practiced rigorously. Nowhere else in the military is that done. So you want to ask for a military-style parade in the style of all of the foreign, oddly tyrannical governments. You're not going to get that unless you give them a couple of years to put together the actual units to do nothing but practice that.
But that goes towards the naivety. This is Commander-in-Chief.
Yeah, and he doesn't. Neither he nor his Secretary of Defense. And I am going to call he's still the Secretary of Defense. I call him Secretary of War only as a pejorative.
It has not been officially changed.
Yeah,
the heads and everything still says the Department of Defense. It is still the Department of Defense, regardless of how many times they want to call it the Department of War. So I can call it toothbrush. I can call a toothbrush a razor, and it's not going to change that it's still a toothbrush.
Fair. But why would they want to, right? Like then we get to the incentive. Why would you want to call a toothbrush a razor? What is the context around that? Why would you want to call the Department of Defense something that is a response, you defending yourself against an offense, to the Department of War, which is an offense?
Yeah, this goes to the mentality of Trump wanting to be strong and aggressive and being viewed that way, whether he is or not, whereas defense is weak and pathetic.
Well, that's the America we live in, which goes to the greater question: what are these soldiers fighting for?
Well, and how many were fighting for it? Because he did actually talk about it. He did talk about it briefly, and he spoke about it in terms of the projection of power. We want our enemies to understand that we can project power, and you don't do that with a Department of Defense. You have a Department of War. That's their job. Whether it's defense or offense, it doesn't matter. It's a Department of War, and you can't project power with a Department of Defense. That was his argument, and he's probably got a point.
It didn't seem to hinder the U.S. previous.
It didn't hinder us in World War II.
We suffered so bad in the past for having it labeled the Department of Defense. I mean, it has problems, don't get me wrong, but...
Well, I do think
with the ungodly amounts of money they dump into it.
And we all know that the vocabulary you use can actually influence the mindset, which can influence decision making and actions taken. So it is not an inconsequential change.
Now you're singing my song, Nick. Like, these are all cues. Everyone's a human. Everyone has psychology. Everybody is influenced. Shannon and I were just talking about this earlier today, about, the expectations of society that we receive the cues of without even realizing it. Even if you swipe past the Manosphere fucking videos on your YouTube Shorts or TikTok, you're still seeing 20-somethings pretend that they're millionaires, right? And of course, as a non-millionaire in his 50s, I know it's bullshit, but after seeing it enough times, sometimes I'm just like, man, am I fucking up? Should I have a fucking Lambo? Should I be living on what is going on that so many young people are rich? And then it's like the idea that the rich people are smart. So, we're getting all of these cues. And when you call the Department of Defense a Department of War, and you're just using labels to show strength, that's very manospherific. Why not just make the cigar the official fucking, whatever, pastime, and, just hand it over to Joe Rogan and all those chooches that, think that they're above board alpha male bullshit. Because that's what it seems like to me. And again, the Manosphere to me is a symptom of, or more appropriately, the boosting of the Manosphere, the popularity of the Manosphere is definitely a symptom.
Amplification.
There we go, of what's happening. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I also, to your point, because I don't necessarily disagree with you on that, the perception that, times are, and I think this is kind of subliminal, and people who are actually living their lives out there and realizing it's gotten harder, not easier. The American dream is pretty much completely shredded. Which
how much does it cost to fill up your rig?
Hear my rant on the American dream. $1,000. I went from paying in a 2-week settlement period. I went from paying an average of $3,500 to maybe $4,000, depending upon the areas of the country I was running in. My last settlement, I paid $7,000. So I have doubled in 2 weeks. I doubled the amount I'm paying in fuel. So we have this this idea that there's troubling times coming in. Things aren't right. More people are at each other's throats online more so than in public. I don't see that so much when I'm traveling across the country and interacting with people in the real world, but you sure as hell see it online all the time. You're bombarded with it. Us versus them mentality, and people talking about the collapse of the government or the tyrannical takeover of the government and civil war 2.0. You hear all of this stuff. And so there's definitely that underlying things are not right. And people are definitely picking up on that. And then, of course, you get that nice trite quote, strong men make good times make weak men.
That bullshit.
Yeah. But it's still filters through. And now you have a bunch of people that are turning to, well, we've had a bunch of essentially weak-ass people out there that have created all of this,
right? As LBJ would call them.
Yeah, and so now it's like we need to have a resurgence of all of these, the most toxic and negative. I hate to use toxic because I get so sick and tired of just listening to toxic this, toxic that. But it's like that's kind of the mentality that's starting to rise, and I think it's in response to just how shitty everything's going. And now we need the strong people to rise up and take control. And who cares if they're very reminiscent of Mussolini.
The racist John Wayne who died of lung cancer and red meat consumption was a goddamn racist.
Absolutely. We need these people back up and take us strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get this country back on track and back to what it once was. And it's like you can't take the country back to what it once was. And even if somehow
when was the once was?
A lot of people
that's
just it, and everybody's got their own kind of idealized it's kind of like with the SCA, where they're it's like selective recreation of the past, and it's like your nostalgia for other things for the past is beautiful. Your mind is beautifully equipped to kind of downplay all of the shitty negativeness, usually. Trauma aside. So yeah, you kind of forget about all the other nasty shit that was going on at that time, and you're like, oh, but it wasn't that. I think back to growing up in Wyoming. I'm like, oh, the nostalgia for all of that, and then I'm like, yeah, that kind of sucked.
But as Andring, the nostalgia is usually based on when the person talking was 12 years old and oblivious to how everything in the world was working.
That's the
nostalgia bit. There was no golden age of America where everything was perfect. Unless you want to get super bigoted and go like 1950s, like Tucker. Oh, I was meant to be born in the 1950s. Well, you need to skip over the 60s to get to the 50s. So you want segregation. You don't want civil rights. Like, is that the America we're getting back to, right? John Wayne was in movies with Dean Martin, and Dean Martin 30 years previously wouldn't be considered an American citizen because he's an Italian American. I mean, when is that nostalgic phase? Now, I want to shift gears real quick to bring like just a human nature element to what you were talking about. We were talking about gas prices a moment ago as a way to just I think this story, and this is a story from me just from this past weekend. I play gigs. I'm a musician. Right? Some of my gigs are like an hour away, hour and a half away. And
just to remind everyone, he plays bass, but he is a musician.
Oh, no, you didn't.
So
I'm not
okay. Well, we'll be we are very generous upon our guests, so we will in fact allow you to play musician.
Yeah,
even though you're playing bass.
Exactly.
Just because you want to play drums, Nick, does not mean that. Everybody bust out the Nick on drums memes.
Shit! Here we go. Okay, yeah.
I've had to make decisions about gigs that I take. How far away is it? Right here, I'm in Pennsylvania. Gas is about under $5. It was $2.79 maybe 4 months ago. $3.25, but like. Yeah, filling up my tank is a $70 endeavor, whereas previously it was like $50. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a death of 1,000 cuts. The price of chopped meat combined with the price of gas, like gigs don't increase in pay. Like gigs are like $100 a guy, $75 a guy. Fucking $75 gives me the gas to get there and back anymore. So like, Thank God I love playing music as a bassist.
Well, and if you keep practicing, somebody will love listening to it.
From an economic position, it wouldn't make any goddamn sense. But like, I'm passionate about music and I love playing with people, so I take the gigs mostly. But it's a different world, man. It's the death of 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, I love watching the rebuttals, the indignant rebuttals, I guess, against. Essentially the boomers going, well, of course you're not supposed to be able to buy a house right out of high school, and it's like you got to put your nose to the grindstone, stop buying your avocado toast, and save money and get that house.
Yeah.
And then watching them go through and completely dismantle that argument and go, hey, no, that is not the avocado toast and frou-frou coffees is not what's preventing generation what gen are we on? Z.
We flipped over. I think alphas
from being able to buy. What I mean that would actually be trying to buy houses. Yes. I think we're starting to get into Generation Z, and then obviously the millennials. And they're like, wait a minute, let's go back and let's actually take a look at this, and let's adjust things for. Yeah, let's adjust for inflation, and let's see. Let's compare our wages versus what asset prices are, and and they completely shred that argument. It's like, no, it's not that simple, and it's not the avocado toast, it's not the coffees that are preventing people from purchasing homes. There's some actual structural problems here, especially with asset pricing and futures, that are causing a huge number of problems with people being able to even afford a home. And of course, this is kind of sort of by design, because you get people who have assets want those assets to grow, and they get very upset when they shrink. So, and you can't have nothing is unlimited growth. So,
yeah. And I'll admit, I'll be even more frank. My wife and I were having a discussion about that very thing. My wife and I rent right now. We live in a townhouse, and we have rented. And we would like to buy a house, but it's just the market is so goddamn volatile. And, speaking of getting signals and cues and inferences from, well, you should own a house by now. You should stop eating avocado toast so that you can get that house, because getting the house is what you're supposed to do. And that's part of the signals that we get. And combined with the signals, as a man, as a gendered argument, the kind of cues that we have in society about what a man is supposed to be, what we're supposed to accomplish, as if there is a checklist of things you're supposed to do by a certain age. The combination of not being able to afford it while simultaneously having the pressure to work towards it, that's where this bullshit mindset comes from. Well, fucking pressure makes carbon into diamonds, but pressure makes carbon-based organisms into schizophrenics.
Well, and it can turn diamonds to dust as well. I mean, getting a diamond is the right amount of pressure, too much.
Well, and I'm also like, do we really want, human beings to be diamonds? Because diamonds wear away everything else around them too.
Fair.
So, if we're going to stick with the analogy, I don't know that we want human beings to be diamonds, because there's so many other things that make humans great that aren't hard.
I wanted to make two quick observations on two things that we ran by. My father hated people who said, "Oh, in my day, we did this or did that," and he said, "Look, we like to think our days were easier or harder or this or that." He goes, "Everyone always tells me," he goes, "I remember high school. So what happened in high school? I was on the football team. We had to cancel an entire season. Why? Because the quarterback and two linebackers got polio. One of them never walked again." It's like, is that what you guys want to go back to? And for RFK Jr., the answer is obviously yes. But, the rest of us don't. But attitude, the attitude of the public tends to reflect in some way or another leadership. And we have Trump, who now has, again, this $1.8 billion slush fund. He has refused to take giving it to the January 6ers off the table. He has absolutely refused, made it clear that he will almost certainly give it to them to reimburse them for their legal fees. These are people who tried to overthrow the government. Now, these are two of Trump's Twitter feeds. Here's the first one. Leaders lead. So he's letting you know. Here's the alpha male. This is what he does. Biden was a coward. He knelt, and look at the black man. And I do think this is about race. It's easy to just, Obama's black, it's easy to just call racism, but Trump has a far worse objection to Obama than he does to any of his predecessors. The only one of his predecessors he seems to like is Bill Clinton, and that's concerning. He also posted this, and when you think about why are people thinking more about violence, about attacking things, about this is how an American male should deal with things? This is what he posted in terms of how he's going to deal with. And the manosphere, as you were saying, is eating this up. And this is amplifying it and giving people who would otherwise not have that voice, and really probably shouldn't. I don't think everybody, yes, we have free speech, but not all speech is equally valuable. Mm-hmm. And these guys should be told, if they say, if they use the N-word at a Starbucks, that's private property. They should be kicked out. They should be, there needs to be consequences. And he's making it so, no, there aren't any consequences because, well, traitor.
Well, let's look at Chud the Builder, right? Anyone familiar with that case?
Yes, Chud the Builder. And I just had a picture of him, and I closed it out. He just got arrested. What was it he did?
Well, his whole shtick was saying the N-word hard R in public.
Oh yeah.
Then when black people got mad, he would say they're chimping out. And there was a scuffle, and he shot someone. And
he got shot. So he shot himself, and he shot. I didn't
know that.
Yeah, he shot himself, and he has been charged with attempted murder. One of the ways in which they got away with charging him with that was because they were able to prove that he was being deliberately provocative. He thought he was being all clever because he's recording. We actually did do a show on him when he was, because he was in the ambulance and he had the lapel mic still on him, and they had to take the lapel mic off and unhook all the recording gear. Like, why do you have recording gear? Oh, nothing. No reason. And he's uploading it while he's in the ambulance. I just got attacked by a violent black guy who he provoked by using the N-word, by saying that chimping out, by doing the whole 9 yards. And he had tried several times. He'd gotten into a couple of fights, but he brought the gun with him each time so that he could shoot and kill someone.
Well, he's protecting himself, Nick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's the other.
I think people conveniently forget that rights come with responsibilities, and when you ignore those responsibilities, you will lose your rights.
Fucking is Andring.
What I find most interesting is how we live under Trump in the most peaceful, secure America ever. Violence is down. Everything is down. But you could be killed at any moment if you don't vote for him again.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have the best military ever assembled thanks to Trump. But give him 1.5 trillion for the military for next year, or it's all going to collapse. It's like they can't both be true. We can't be in both the worst possible crisis and the best possible utopia at the same time. And somehow we always are with Trump. And every now and then he catches that he's done it, and he's put it in an awkward way. It's just like, things are bad. Things are really bad. Things are terrible. Well, they were terrible. Then I took over. Now things are good again. But unless you want them to get bad again, you need to it's just sort of like, yeah, you know, yeah.
Take him literally, but take him seriously, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't take him literally. He talks out of both sides of his mouth the whole time. He's like Alex Jones is president. It's just...
Well, you can see in his speech patterns, too. You know, everything goes to the extreme. It's the greatest. Yeah. It's the worst. You know, he was the worst president, or you're the worst journalist, or, you know, we're in the best times, or my policy, you know, our economy is greater than any time in the past. And I'm like, I'm sorry, the 1940s would like to have a conversation. It's like, no, you know, if you're talking about just economy, it's everything is to the extreme. So you can't take him seriously about anything, or take him literally about anything, but you absolutely do need to take him seriously.
Somebody did a video clip, which I haven't bothered because at this point it's really low-hanging fruit. We all know it, but it's a clip of all the things that he's an expert at. And it's this great, it goes all the way back, well before The Apprentice. It goes back to like Art of the Deal book and all this other. I'm one of the best writers ever. The Art of the Deal was ghostwritten. But anyways, I'm a great writer. We all know that the book is doing well. I'm probably one of the greatest writers that's ever, you know, I'm the greatest business. I'm the greatest negotiator. I'm the greatest this. And it just goes on. You know, they when he passed, he took the cognitive test. He's like, the doctors were so impressed and so surprised. They said nobody's ever done this well on a cognitive test. I was just like, they're dementia tests, and I'm sure you had the doctors talking afterwards. I'll agree to that.
Yeah. And why are you getting so many of them so frequently?
Yeah. If you're acing them, why is it you have to get one every other day?
It's a mess.
Oh,
it's so this is the weird America that we live in, right? Like so I want to frame this a little bit differently. Okay. So we are approaching this from kind of an academic approach, right? Like two of us are liberals and one's a libertarian conservative. It's my favorite conservative is Andrew. But we have this assumption that what we want is kind of what others want. Like our version of America is what is shared. And I think that my eyes have been opened about how the soft underbelly of America, a majority of people in America don't really share our ideals of in this world of ADHD, attention economy, things lasting 30-second bites, people aren't a fan of strategies that take a long time, strategies that are complex and sophisticated and a little bit obtuse because they're in the hands of experts who have been trained to understand it like that. For the people in this panel, I would think that, and this is one of the reasons why I'm for institutions, because they are filled with experts. Do they always make the right decision? No, but their educated guess is better than non-expert. And that is the world we live in, where the role of government, which is not meant to bend a knee to the trends of the populace, and one of the ways that we get around that is a slower processing of strategies, is getting manhandled. It's the accelerationists are winning, so to speak.
Yes,
and that's a scary world. I don't know how else to put it. To me, that is a scary world, because like I've structured my life based on the slow progress of things, and that's what I expect in the future, and that's what I make plans for. That's what my present plans are based on, the structure of the future that are guardrailed by the institutions of experts who hopefully are looking to keep the nation great, which, what the fuck does that mean anymore? We're the sexiest nation? What the fuck does that mean, Trump? Like, I would like to be a successful nation based on a very literate populace that, has the basics of like scientific literacy and civic literacy and stuff like that. And that's not what we got. And it's almost celebrated now. The people with the gut instinct are the ones that are revered in the John Waynes instead of the effete eggheads, right? And hey, man, I'll take an effete egghead over John Wayne any day. But that's not.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not a lot of
it's the difference between slow deliberation, where you may not have all of the evidence, all of the facts, and you still have to make some decisions that moves a lot slower because we're like, hey, we need to have evidence behind this, versus the people that stand up like, I know what to do. It's completely emotionally driven, and unfortunately,
like dudes at a
beings
bar
are emotionally driven animals.
Yeah, like dudes at a bar that are like, I don't understand
They're
why we're
letting
in the deficit. We spend $50 million on education, just put half of that towards the deficit, and we're done. It's that simple. Dude, having a beer, shut up.
I can balance a checkbook. Why can't the government go just?
We're losing you.
All right, yeah, you're roboting badly. I want to piggyback real quick, and hopefully he'll be back by the time I'm done. I had, because we were framing this in terms of veterans who risked their lives, and or on Memorial Day who lost their lives, and what kind of America are they looking at? There are some, we have to acknowledge this, who after World War I, or after as the 60s are coming through, are saying, well, wait a minute. I didn't fight in World War II. I didn't fight so that black men could vote. That's not, I didn't risk my life. I risked my life for this country, for America as it is, where blacks can't vote, or women can't vote. So, America is always going to be, I said, you're always going to have to make room for the white nationalists, the Christian nationalists, and the others. The concern is when they amass this amount of power this quickly and bulldoze over absolutely every institution, every guardrail, and are applauded by, I was going to say at least half. Trump's approval rating suggests that people have had about enough, but that's just what it suggests. We're not going to know.
Negative 30?
Well, no, he's at, last I saw he was at 35, which is an all-time low. He's hit several all-time lows, and he's negative 50 is the spread top to bottom.
Whew. That's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's nuts.
As Andrew, we got you back? No, I think he's gone for a little while. Okay. So we are going to have to, but I really do believe in pluralism. I and it might be naive. I don't think it is naive. I think that in general, the better ideas win out. They've lost. We've all seen them lose. We've all seen, but it's the Martin Luther King Jr. quote, which everyone here has heard me say like 1,000 times. The arc of history is long and slow, but it bends towards progress. And that's just what it is. It's not, building a just society. We still are, and this is rolling back, but we still are at a point where there's less disease per capita on this planet than there has ever been, less poverty, less starvation, and less crime than there has ever been in human history per capita, planet-wide. It is rolling back. Those numbers are going up, so...
But also, we're at the first generation that's not going to do as well as their parents.
Yep, first generation, and you had sent me this video. I'm going to load this video in. It's going to take me a second because I wasn't prepared. But
want to vamp a little bit?
Yeah, please do.
I think I know what you're talking about. The tech one.
Yep, the tech one. That's it.
Okay.
So I say as I'm doing all the technology, I'm like, okay, let me go. Anyways, please.
So, what Nick is setting up is somebody who has a take on education and why education has been going down in America. But I'll wait for wait for number 3. No, stay to the end of the conversation to see what he really means. Sorry, couldn't help it. We are living in a world where technology and the economy and the manosphere and the John Wayne nature of the soft underbelly. I'm gonna harken back to The Bell Curve, one of the books that I really focus on my channel. And for those of you not familiar, feel free to go to my channel for some of the videos. But The Bell Curve pretty much reintroduced backwater ideas of race differences in intelligence, but it also framed it as a cognitive partitioning that they predicted would happen. This book was published in 1994. It is 2026, and we still do not have a cognitive elite, although we do have social and economic and race partitioning in America. But they kind of sold the idea that, hey, IQ is genetic and success is based on IQ, so success is genetic, and all of this to hold up a social Darwinistic idea that the people at the top deserve to be at the top because they're just getting rewarded by society, which is a fair arbiter for their natural talents. And it's difficult to watch. Like, again, I was talking about 20-year-olds bragging about the mansion that they rented and pretend to live in and the Lamborghini that they rented and pretend to drive. It's this idea that if you're successful, you are smart. And if you're not successful, then you're dumb. When you're successful, you should be lauded. Success being earn a lot of money. And when you're not successful, you should be made fun of. And that version of America drives me nuts. I'm raising kids, right? I have to perpetually counter those arguments that exist because, like, my kids don't want to be in those positions. They don't want to be lawyers. They don't want to be CEOs of tech companies or whatever. They want to be more artistic, and that's you don't hear a lot of that in our nation. Like, hey, pursue arts because it's love what you do. No, it's AI is going to take over, and it's a fucking scary goddamn world. Now, I'm going to tether this back to education. With a good education, and of course, I think that education is super important. I'm a science communicator. I would love scientific literacy to go up and critical thinking, but it's not. And the video that Nick's about to show you, the person in it has a very specific idea as to why. You got it ready, Nick?
I think I do. It looks like I may just have to play the audio, but I can play the audio, so I will do that. Before I do, I want to add that most of the people who seem to think about the IQ that way are the people who were born on third base. So they wake up, they're on third base, and they're like, yeah, rich people are so the people who, like Warren Buffett, earned his money. And he sits there and says it had nothing to do with IQ. It had nothing to do with, it's like, it was hard work, patience, being observant, and, you know, being present and being engaged in what I was doing. That's how I became a millionaire. And then you've got, and now Elon Musk was just lucky. He was just lucky. He was lucky. He bought into PayPal. Well, he got into PayPal at the ground level. Everybody there hated him, and they were willing to pay him a significant amount of money to get the fuck out. And then he's just like, I'm a genius, obviously. And the people who, Donald Trump, his dad gave him a small loan of $1 million, and that's how he made all his money. And this makes him obviously smarter than everybody else, because he didn't really have any help that other people didn't have in making all his billions. First of all, he doesn't have what? That's where that he has said that. He said that on like some, like the night, what was it, Nightline or something like that. He was just like, no, I made it all myself. I got a small loan of $1 million, and and it's just like, first of all, I doubt it was a loan. Second of all, he still had all his business contacts. Mitt Romney does the same thing. Mitt Romney, because he's a Mormon, wasn't really supposed to inherit, and he didn't. But he did go to private school. He did go to private school, and once he got out, got in on the ground floor at one of his father's businesses, and yada, yada, yada. So, all right, what we're going to do, we're going to play this video. This is C-SPAN. We've only got the audio right now. YouTube is being difficult, but we will play the audio. This is a PhD testifying before Ted Cruz and Congresswoman Cantwell on education in the United States. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Listen carefully.
I think we can hear it.
Nope.
Yeah, it's not. It's just not playing. Hold on a sec. Come on. I hit the play button. It does not want to play.
We talk it some more.
Yeah, here it goes.
I'm a former teacher turned cognitive neuroscientist who focuses on human learning. And I do not receive funding, nor have I ever, from big tech. So a sad fact our generation has to face is this. Our kids are less cognitively capable than we were at their age. Every generation has outperformed their parents, and that's exactly what we want. We want sharper kids. And the reason for this largely has been school. Each generation spends more time in school. We use school to develop our cognition until Gen Z. Gen Z is the first generation in modern history to underperform us on basically every cognitive measure we have, from basic attention to memory to literacy to numeracy to executive functioning to even general IQ, even though they go to more school than we did. So why? What happened? What happened around 2010 that decoupled schooling from cognitive development? It can't be school. Schools basically look the same. It can't be biology. This hasn't had enough time to change. The answer appears to be the tools we are using within schools to drive that learning. Across 80 countries, as Gene was just saying, if you look at the data, once countries adopt digital technology widely in schools, performance goes down significantly, to the point where kids who use computers about 5 hours per day in school for learning purposes will score over 2/3 of a standard deviation less than kids who rarely or never touch tech at school. And that's across 80 countries. Bring it home to the US. Let's go to the US. We have our NAEP. That's our big data. Take any state, and here's a fun experiment you can try. Take any state NAEP data, compare that to when that state adopted one-to-one technology widely, and watch what happens. The NAEP data will plateau and then start to drop. Of course, this is all correlative. What we really want is causative. To get causation, what you need is academic research, and you need mechanisms, explanations for why we're seeing what we're seeing. Luckily, we have academic research stretching back to 1962 that shows the exact same story for 60 years. When tech enters education, learning goes down. Because what do kids do on computers? They skim. So rather than determining what do we want our children to do and gearing education towards that, we are redefining education to better suit the tool. That's not progress, that is surrender. So as we go through our discussion today, there's going to be a lot of talk about smartphones and social media, rightly so. But I'm the voice here to remind you that even in schools, it doesn't matter what the size of the screen is, if it's a phone, if it's a laptop, if it's a desktop, and it doesn't matter who bought it. Is it school sanctioned? Does it have the word education stamped on it? It doesn't matter. all of these things are also going to hurt learning, which in turn are going to hurt our kids' cognitive development, right at the time when we need our kids to be sharper than we are. My name is Dr. J.
All right. So before we get into that, I think we have Xandring back, and he was in the middle of a thought. I don't know if he remembers. Xandring, do you remember what your thought was? Did you have anything? Oh, there's a chungus among us. Do you remember what it was? Do you have anything? I want to make sure we got you. If we got you, we use you. Yeah.
I remember where I was headed towards, and that was, we kind of emotionally based decision making.
Yes.
And we keep talking about, we have to stop Trump. We have to stop Trump. And I agree. I don't like what he's doing. But the solution always seems to be, get out and vote. We need to, get into the midterms. And I'm not saying that's not a solution, but we're putting a hell of a lot of faith in a benevolent dictator. And we're hoping that it's the correct benevolent dictator that we get elected. And unfortunately, in order to undo a lot of the stuff Trump has done, the next person's going to need to exercise all of the same powers that Trump did in order to try and undo that. And at some point, the wrong benevolent dictator is going to be in power, and we're going to have all these problems again. I keep looking at the solution I hear over and over and over again is a top-down solution from the federal government-wise. One of the reasons why I keep pointing out you need to get involved in your states. It's the states that are going to be, your local and state governments are going to be the answer to some of these problems, not making sure that the next benevolent dictator gets in, can do all of the things to undo what the previous non-so-benevolent dictator imposed. And we're literally getting to that point.
Well, I'm going to write on that as far as the states go and as far as education goes. It's not the federal Department of Education that's the problem. It's the way the states implement education. The states have more of a stake in how their education is run than the federal government. Federal government provides guidelines. It collects data. It ensures access to, based on the 14th Amendment due process?
You'd think that Xandring has to know. Yes. Due process.
But based on due process, that's why special education access exists, disability exists, and so access to education. That is federally. That's one of the federal
14th
responsibilities. But to your point, the states, getting involved in the states. You don't like the way that education is? Talk to your state legislators. They're the ones that are more responsible for it than the Department of Education. So dismantling the Department of Education, first of all, putting a goddamn wife of the person who runs the World Wrestling Federation as the head of education is not a good start. But unless your goal is, of course, to dismantle the Department of Education. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents about giving it to the states, but in agreement with Xandring, getting involved locally, local politics is really where it's at. And I'm woefully, naive to my own local politics, so I'm not necessarily practicing what I preach in this instance.
Well, I think we've had the luxury and or naivety not to. And I think, without speaking for Xandring, I try only to speak for Xandring when he's not here to defend himself. Hopefully not speaking for Xandring. I think the point being that, wow, I told the joke and then I derailed myself off the joke. Well, Xandring's here, so I know you already. What was the about the local?
I'm mostly here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like the solution that we see to the wrong benevolent dictator being in charge is going to be your local and state governments. That's the only way you're going to be able to stop it, because the federal government has become far too powerful for you to make any kind of significant change. And hoping that enough people will get out and vote, because let's face it, the American people are very apathetic about voting at all.
Yeah.
As to Maddie's point of education, you want to know the biggest single difference you can make in education of your children? In your own school districts, and you walk in and sit all the meetings, and you can have your voice heard. You can run for positions. You have the of the education of children at your own local level, because that's where most of it is decided. And we
at the
don't
school board.
actually. I mean, our lives are full of stuff. Yes, our lives are full. We have filled them with everything, and people don't like to give up things in order to add something new to their life. And that's what you're going to have to do if you want to solve these problems. You're not going to be able to convince enough people to vote the way you want to. And even if you have a candidate that you really like and you're like, let's get out there and let's get it to vote, does that candidate actually care about the exact same things that you do, or are they saying shit to get elected? Are they actually going to put the kind of effort into the areas that you think need work? It's like you're hanging a hell of a lot of hopes on a single person that has to exercise extraordinary power to try and undo it done. I don't think that ends well.
Well, it's gotten us here, so I'm not in a position to disagree with you. And I think the interesting thing is what we've seen so far is, because elections are only held every 2 or 4 years, depending, we haven't had a chance to elect a perfect, benevolent dictator to replace Trump, even if one were available. But our state representatives have been able to defend us to varying degrees of efficacy. So, both at the federal level to some extent, but also just like state governors. Take a look at what Gavin Newsom did. Take a look at, what happened in Wisconsin. They successfully repelled what was a test run of a private army run by Donald J. Trump, and they repelled it. Took 2 civilian lives, which actually is amazing. There was a lot of restraint there, and they did just an absolute spectacular job. But did I say Wisconsin? In Minneapolis, Missouri. But it's the states that are. And then when Texas decided to redistrict and really screw things up, all the other states said, well, if you're going to break that rule and if you're going to do that, so are we. And the Democrats are behind on the redistricting, but the only reason that we don't have now a completely red Congress for the upcoming midterms is because the Democratic states said, we're not going to put up with this. And if you're going to do it, so are we. I don't think anybody should be doing it, but at a minimum, you can't let them do it unchecked. So right now, the only thing that's stopping Trump is the states and the federal courts and courts at the state level. So district courts, the Supreme Court, he owns, but he is getting his ass handed to him by federal judges and state judges. So, and there are state prosecutors who've been going after him, some at risk to their lives, which has been Letitia James. Some of the threats against her were rather serious. And now Trump's going after them federally, of course, too. But the only thing right now that is proven effective, at least until the midterms, has been the states. So I think that's
it's like the Swiss cheese
observation. Yeah.
Right? A bunch of slices of Swiss cheese. Each of them has a hole, but hopefully at one point the hole meets a non-hole, so it can eventually be stopped. So at this level there's a hole, the federal, and then you get to the state level, and maybe those holes aren't on the state. You know what I mean?
Yep,
hopefully the analogy makes sense, but yeah, that seems to be the structure. Or hopefully, that's a hopeful version, I guess, of the structure, because it assumes that one slice of Swiss cheese is going to stop the bullshit that started at the top level, right?
When it's reported that when Obama had to call Hillary Clinton and asked her to concede the race. He didn't want to have them go on for all the way up to the Supreme Court. It was election night. Trump had won. Asked her to concede the race. She agreed to. he hung up the phone and said, well, it looks like we're about to figure out just how strong our institutions are. And I think he had no idea the kind of stress test that the institutions, and federal courts are now, because they can't enforce the laws. There's apparently a kind of warrant that I've never heard of that they can execute. They haven't used in like 100 years, and they're all starting to use now. Because the federal government won't empower them to do it, but they can actually get officers of the court to go down and snag people and drag them down. So just like, wow, they basically have to become their own. Every court has to become its own independent governing agency, essentially, because the federal government won't do it. Or I shouldn't say that. The executive branch won't do it. Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, I don't know if we missed any questions from the live chat. Let me quickly check also, too, and see if there were any super chats. Nope, we didn't. So, I don't know. Any final thoughts, Chris? Was there anything else you wanted to say? Anything we missed?
Well, I do have a little something. I'd like to read here. So,
please.
The question is not whether America has enemies. The question is whether we are becoming the kind of country that needs enemies in order to define itself. A democracy honors sacrifice by expanding belonging. An authoritarian movement honors sacrifice by deciding who was never worthy of belonging in the first place. And our soldiers died for America, but the question is whether they're building a republic of equal citizenship or a caste system with branding. So those are my final words.
All right. Well, I like that a lot. Xandering, any final thoughts? Xandering?
I think he's ignoring us on purpose now.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to follow that.
He's just screwing with it. Yeah, he doesn't want
to back to that statement. That's what it is.
We will have him back, and hopefully he won't be going through the mountains tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for In Time, and we will be covering a number of news stories we decided not to cover today because we just wanted to stick to the as much as we could to the Memorial Day.
We just spent an hour and a half talking. That did not feel like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it wasn't that. Yep. That was a good show. So thank you all so much for joining. Thank you. This was Chris's idea. So thank you very much for coming up with it and giving me a shout out so we could go do this. Chris's Discord is on ours. Absolutely. And I'm sorry I missed your hang yesterday. I heard it was somebody was saying something. They apparently it got spicy is what I'm hearing. So, all right.
So if anyone wants to, last night I did a hang on my channel that's kind of similar to this topic, but much more focused on the topics of my channel, scientific racism. And if you want to check that out, it's a 2-hour hang, and Brooks is in it, and Brooks and Fabio kind of have a little. I had to get between them, so if you want to see that, go check that out. I think it's within the first 45 minutes. But please go check out my channel if you're interested. Subscribe if you like learning about scientific racism. This year, I'm focusing on the bell curve, which I've brought up a bunch of times. If you're not familiar with what that is, feel free to check out some of my videos and help me fight race pseudoscience, because, like I said, it was meant to be a history channel. An archiving of old arguments, and it just quickly became a current events channel with groypers and white nationalists and Christian nationalists kind of having their voices heard, unfortunately. So you're welcome. Always a pleasure talking to you, Nick.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually going to go check that out too, because I know both Brooks and now I spaced his name. I almost said Agrippa, not Agrippa. Fabio. Thank you. That's not a good one. So I'm going to go have to check that out. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern for In Time. Have a good night.
Who is applying to the internship? She looks so familiar to me. I'll tell you who she looks like. I'll tell you who she looks like. She looks like a girl who is applying to the internship. She looks so familiar to me. I'll tell you who she looks like. She looks exactly like...
You can take a look. Good show.
I don't care.
Okay.
Sorority girl!
Don't be scared.
You're the girl, right?
I'm Jennifer Johnson.
Just graduated Northwestern?
Stay calm.
A year early.
You asked me that moronic question, and then my world came apart, and she came here, and I landed in the tabloids, and I got death threats, and my job is constantly in jeopardy, and you ruined my life?
Again, just stay calm.
Yes, that was me.
What the hell are you doing here?
I'm applying for an internship.
Why?
I watched the show, and I read the New York Magazine article, and I know what a greater fool is. And I want to be one.
Camelot. She's a kid at the end of Camelot. Ask me again.
I'm sorry.
Ask me your idiot question again.
What makes America the greatest country in the world?